Hey, what's happening, everybody? Thanks for being with us on Cinema Recap. Today we'll take a look at that 2010 martial arts adventure film called Ong Bak 3. Tien is in one of those human clamps meant to restrict the heads and hands. It's called a pillory. Sounds like pillow, but trust me, it's far from it. Go ahead and Google it. His eyes are closed, might as well be meditating. But worse yet, he's been drugged. Pails of water are thrown on his face. So he's forced to wake. And his vision's blurry. He sees a few men in front of him with sticks. He's a prisoner of the governing authorities, and a verdict has been passed on him. He's to be beaten by sticks until he can't breathe. Or at least until all his bones are broken. Now the wooden block subsequently is taken off and his chains drop to the ground. Two strong men pull those same chains to hold Tien in position while he's being flogged securely. He also has his legs chained up so he can't run. Then the punishment begins. Heads up, cause it's a little painful to watch, as proof that this guy is as good as Jet Li or Bruce Lee even. Cause he's able to get the better of the two men holding him in place and starts to fight his punishers. There are at least 10 of them and counting as he dances in and out. But it's only a matter of time before Tien is overwhelmed and he drops to the ground lifeless. Now the monastery, where the sick and afflicted are coming in droves. There's wailing everywhere as a resident doctor tries to attend to a few patients. It suffices to say that monasteries were the hospitals of 15th century Thailand. Some passerby make a remark to each other that there seems to be a curse on the land. It's the reason why everyone seems to be falling sick. These people also mention that Master Bois has gone to the temple to pray about the curse. We even see Master Bois meditating, and in his vision, he sees Tien being beaten black and blue with the aid of all sorts of contraptions. These means of torture are not for the faint-hearted. It's some heavy caliber stuff that's better used on cattle than men. Master Bois also sees a dark entity that may be the source of this curse, and he tries to channel that dark energy into a single leaf that lands on his palm. Then he cuts his hair and also appeases his gods with a symbolic lotus flower. Lord Rajasana, who was the one that passed the death sentence on Tien, is having a nightmare that you would agree he deserves for being such a bad person. In it, he's bleeding from the head and hearing voices. Turns out those voices aren't random because they come from the last king who he toppled. The ghost of his former king haunts him, seeing Rajasena was the one who killed him in a coup. Also in this nightmare are dead bodies in his courtyard, and just then Rajasena wakes up suddenly and finds that his dream is real. Okay, not exactly, because there is fighting in his courtyard, and some men are trying to rescue Tien while he's crucified high up. Then enters Booty to help Rajasena's men against Tien's rescuers. Now Booty sounds like booty, and it almost feels similar in the sense that he does represent some sort of backup. Get it? Rajasena on his part can't help but notice the display of skill, so he tries to employ Booty. But Booty has other things on his mind, like his own agenda, that may be revealed shortly if you guys are patient. And on the next day is the execution for Tien. He's been placed in the requisite position and is unconscious. Lord Rajasena gives the command, off with his head. And just when that big knife is coming down, a messenger from the king himself arrives with a pardon. A horse-riding messenger getting there in the nick of time. How does that even happen? No one knows. There's even the likelihood that it might be fake. Either way, Tien's taken and Lord Rajasena is left licking his wounds and complaining to his lieutenants. And then, it seems like his nightmares can happen in broad daylight as well. Right there, he's struck by a vision of his lieutenants repeating a curse on him. In desperation, he goes on to kill one of them, like doing something crazy while sleepwalking. Now Tien has since been taken to the monastery to be healed of his grievous wounds. And it turns out that it wasn't on the king's orders after all. The body's laid out, and Pim takes pity on what used to be her brother. Again, those wounds are the kind that might as well be fatal, but let's not jump the gun yet. It's not long after that they're attacked by some ninjas all over again. The monks try their best to defend the honor of the monastery and its workers and patients. In the end, one master uses his last strength to kill the very last ninja, so everything sort of balances out, leaving Pim and Tien safe. And next we're at another annex monastery or clinic/hospital. Tien has been placed on a stone bed, wrapped all around in bandages, herbs applied all over him. Pim, his sister, is there by his side praying along with some other concerned women. Master Bua is there too, performing the necessary rites with his assistants. He admits that Tien has had a bad former life, and this is why he's suffering. So, being his last surviving relative, Pim starts to pray relentlessly to appease the gods. The men at the monastery also cast an effigy that is supposed to take Tien's sins away. And so, between these two sets of actions, Tien has no other choice but to survive. In fact, he'd better wake up or else. And thankfully he does. Just as that crazy man hanging around is the first to announce it. Later on, Pim tries to help Tien get up and walk again, but he's simply unable to. His hands and feet are all twisted up despite the fact that he's healing. He looks like he needs some physical therapy, and as most patients take to that, he's pretty grumpy about it. Sometimes, a little tough love helps. But who we kidding? Placing Tien the great fighter side by side with a gentle Pim, he easily pushes her away. And the next morning, Tien's able to drag himself towards the effigy made on his behalf. He looks at it kind of suspiciously before moving on. He goes to the edge of a cliff, and you can guess what he's trying to do there. The crazy guy's also there making fun of Tien for being weak. And just when Tien's about to hurl himself over, Master Bua arrives and says some really wise words as he's expected to. And if you're Tien, you might be thinking, what the hell do fortune cookies have to do with this excruciating pain he feels both emotionally and physically? But then, Master Bua pulls the rabbit out of the hat. He points Tien to look at the rising sun. Nice. Good timing, coming from that master. And Tien is obliged to look at the beauty of the sun as he pulls back. His transformation begins with going to an abandoned temple in the woods, where he can meditate and realign his broken bones. It's a tough task, as he works on his entire body trying to get it back into shape. He stretches and bends and forces the bones back into place to how they were before. It takes time, but he eventually stands up straight, which was something he couldn't do before. He also realizes what his new spirit is, and it has something to do with the weapons versus body argument. What would a martial arts movie be without this argument about which is better? Soon, the crazy guy brings Pim over to see Tien, and perhaps to round out his healing. She immediately starts to do the spiritual dance of the gods, and teaches Tien the same. Actually, it does require a lot of flexibility for a man used to clenching his fists, but at the end of the day, Tien gets the point. Hurrah! So with Master Bua's permission, he goes to practice some spiritual dancing himself, so as to fuse it with his fighting style. And from what we see, it's going really well. All his enemies better watch out. And speaking of which, Rajasena goes over to meet with that Booty character, and he thinks that Booty wants to help him neutralize the curse, but nah. Booty lets his intentions be known, saying that he wants Rajasena's throne. Then Rajasena orders his men to attack. And again, Booty fights in a dervish, like Tien from earlier. It'd be nice to see both of them go head to head, wink wink. So Booty makes a quick work of him until Rajasena's left. Rajasena's got the bow and arrow and tries to use it, but to no avail. Booty gets to him first and slices his head off. The severed head then tries to curse Booty with its last breath, but it looks like he doesn't care about curses. And then it becomes all about the king's new clothes, as Booty's strutting his stuff. His followers bow to him as he confirms his status before them. The typical "I am your ruler and overlord" speech. Somewhere else now, Tien is training and practicing those dance moves. Apparently, it's an integral part of martial arts, which is being able to flow with your movements, almost like martial art choreography. Soon enough, Tien's visited by a random soldier, and then there's some more soldiers who all want a pound of his flesh. They must have been sent by Booty. Such a lame way to get rid of your rival. Whatever happened to that one-on-one combat? Nevertheless, Tien takes out the soldiers one at a time with his newly acquired dance routine. Even as they're coming at him with machetes and sharp weapons, he simply ignores those and depends chiefly on his fists. You know, if you were trained at a monastery, then you might prefer the mastery of the body to any other external accessory. Now, when Tien's finished with them, he runs over to the village and finds that everyone's dead. Tien's deeply saddened. Some men are trying to comfort him as he's grieving the death of the villagers, and Tien gives him a piece of his mind, or at least a chunk of his fist. And you can see that Tien has greatly improved his technique. He can even thrive while there's a smoke screen. In any case, he finishes off all the assailants and then burns up the dead. He proceeds to meet up with Master Bua, Or perhaps it's the master's ghost who transfers the staff of authority to Tien, but he gratefully and humbly accepts. And now over here, Booty has obtained some laborers to build God knows what. They're either pushing or pulling those big slabs of stone, or dying in the process as their bodies are tossed onto a pile. It's backbreaking work that might remind you of the Israelites in Egypt. They whip the slaves into submission, and even the elephants get the same treatment. Somehow, Pim is there amongst the slaves. But more urgently, an elephant is being pulled down, not so it can rest or be injected with a life-saving drug, but so a little bit of its blood can be extracted, so Booty can drink it and become even more powerful. Awesome. In essence, Booty is darkness incarnate as he turns day into night, and his laborers see his power and start to bow to him. And then we have Tien arriving at the scene, looking to destroy Booty and save the day. Both men are looking at each other eyeball to eyeball. It's like a POV shot of both their eyeballs, or is it a micro shot? Whatever it is, you get the point. It's as if they're seeing in deep vision what might happen if they engage each other. Tien on his part sees Pim dying at Booty's hand. Even at that, it looks like kings don't do their own fighting, so we might have to wait a while for some action between them. In the meantime, we content ourselves with watching Tien take out all the elite guards. And not for nothing, he looks pretty angry. And this has made him fight like a demon. Goodness. Even Booty looks at him and loses a little courage. Nah, just kidding. You ever heard the phrase, "it was all a dream"? Probably coming from one of Biggie's rap songs. Well, it applies to what just happened, because all that fighting and anger was because Booty killed Pim in a premonition by Tien. So everything winds back to the part where Tien arrives at the labor camp. He'll probably do things differently now, and so deftly throws his staff to a particular spot where it can attract the thunder to strike Booty. It does, and Booty falls to the ground, along with his men. The sun then comes out to brighten the darkness. Light is winning the battle over it, or good over evil. You know, Booty wakes up from being struck down. He can't believe what he's seeing. This guy was supposed to be untouchable, and soon enough a demon starts to torment him, and his acquired artificial power starts to fade. He hasn't been the same since struck by lightning. Then Tien appears. Yeah, it's the epic fight we've all been waiting for. Unlike the vision we saw, Tien's not fighting angrily this time. He's as calm as spring water, dancing in and out of martial arts moves. It's elegant to watch him neutralize all of Booty's aggression. The fight extends for a while, and when Booty tries to use his spear on him, he catches it before it pierces him. Booty's marveling at that sort of self-control, no thanks to the dancing lessons from Pim. The weaving in and out of dance steps continues. Booty seems like he doesn't know what the hell is happening, like a clueless prom date on the dance floor. Then at some point, Tien has Booty hanging from his fingertips. Believe you me, a full-grown man is hanging from that flimsy hold of another man's finger like a feather. Well, Booty doesn't like it, and tries to struggle free. In other words, he falls from the overhang and unfortunately lands on a broken elephant tusk. Probably the best ending for such a guy, all things considered. And then later on, Tien and Pim are praying to that effigy from earlier on. And that crazy guy's there too. Thanks for chilling with us on Ong Bak 3, a 2010 Thai martial arts film directed, produced, and written by Tony Jaa and Pana Ridikrai. If you feel the video, please hit a like and subscribe if you're not with us already. Till next time.